On this episode of my 1990 Mastercraft project, I'll be taking care of all the nicks and scratches by using a simple do-it-yourself Gelcoat repair kit that I picked up for less than $60. I'll leave you with the confidence to fix those nicks and scratches in your own boat.
Okay, I can fix that. And there's another good sized gouge right there that'll need to be Gelcoat repaired.
Here's our makeshift mixing station. And Ken just took a little sample on there to try to see what we need for tinting. We mixed it with our polyester Gelcoat paste, and I'm not swirling it because I don't want a bunch of air bubbles in here. Experience in the past was you get air in here and you end up with pits in your repair. As luck would have it, this blue pigment is exactly the right color for the boat, so we won't have to do any tinting. 4, 5, 6. I'll make a note here that before we applied the Gelcoat, we sanded each of the repair areas with 600 grit sandpaper.
Get those just slightly high, done. So you got something to sand.
Pretty deep one in the back, and I left that. And this is actually pretty high. What do you think about that one?
I'd leave it. We can sand it and form it.
Because we got to be careful not to push into on the deeper ones that we do.
No. You're blocking the air. Okay. Gelcoat doesn't dry unless it's sealed from the air.
Okay. Okay, erased around and got the wax paper on. Just needs to cover up the repair. So we need 1 hour for this to dry, and then we'll come back, sand these with maybe a little block. And what I'm learning about these small Gelcoat repairs are on the white. If you cut back the area you're going to repair and clean up that area with a grinder or what I use is a Dremel tool, and you expose in this case, the blue behind it or any dark surface behind there, the white is very transparent. So I'm finding that I'm not putting enough pigment in the Gelcoat mix. So I'm going to continue to work on trying to get more pigment in there, because what's happening, and I'll show you up close, is that I'm getting the repair done, but you can see through it. So here's an area where I've done just the first pass with the sanding 220 grit, and you can easily see where I cut out the area of the little spider cracks. So it's going to be fine here because that bracket's going to pretty much cover the whole thing. But that's why I wanted to play with this. So here's an area where I just pulled the wax paper off. And that's what it looks like before I sand. It's built up pretty high, and I'll show you how I sand that carefully so that I'm not getting into the surrounding areas, because this Gelcoat's very thin. And under this white Gelcoat here is the blue. So here's where I've cut out there was a large spider crack right here. And I've cut out these cracks and exposed the blue Gelcoat beneath. And so I have to make sure when I repair this that I have enough pigment in it that you cannot see through. I don't want to see this. So I've already done the repair down here, and it turned out really nice. I figured out how to mix the blue so it's really close. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. So how I'm going about this is I just use some pressure with my pinky and block it like this. I could use a block, and I have a block, and I might use it here in a little bit, but I'm just trying to take down some material, and I work from the inside of the repair out towards the margins, because I want to keep the paper off of the original Gelcoat around it, because like I said, it's very thin. So I want to work on just getting the high parts down. And what I like about this, and I've done a lot of body work on cars, is this is very forgiving. You couldn't get away with something like this on a car. But with a boat, they're so imperfect that I can do this and not worry about it. I'll get the block and show you how to do that. I use just the end of the block because I don't want to use the whole block. If I use the whole block and sand this, yeah, I'll be knocking the high parts down, but it's going to be sanding all the way out here. And I do not want to have to do more sanding on this than I need to. I'm already going to sand it with 1,000 grit and up to probably 2,500 before I polish it, just to get the imperfections out. Some areas I won't need to do that, but others I will. But so I'm going to put the block in, just work off this little end, right? Work in this area with the block and not go past it. And this takes everything down evenly. And I've done it this way, and I've also just done an entire one with my fingers, and that works too. And the nice thing about this Gelcoat, it's super soft. It sands really easy with 220 grit. The instructions will tell you to do all this with 600, but you'll be here all day. And if you're careful and you watch your margins and you just go to where you get those margins leveled off with the repair, you can leave it a little high. And I've noticed that about some other repairs on this boat that were probably professionally done. They're high, and that's because they probably know not to get carried away. Just for clarification, although I do start with 220 grit, I do work my way up to finer grits as I work through the repair.
Need to get it on here thick enough that I have material to take down. The trick here is know when to quit. Clean out my spreader with every pass, so I'm not just continuing to go over it. So that's what it looks like there, so I don't continue to go over it with a smeared spreader. Kind of like that. It may require another application, but I hope not.
While you were away, I sanded the white Gelcoat application that I showed, and I'm really happy with the color. It's just spot on. But the mistake I made is that I did not sand this area far enough beyond my repair to deal with the fading that existed here. So now what I've got is a shadow around my repair, and the more I sand this repair, two things happen. One is the shadow just continues to move into the repair area, and I'm starting to expose the actual cuts that I made in the material. So rather than completely covering the spider crack cuts that I made, those are starting to be exposed. And if I continued to sand this, I could get it all the way down to where that's the only thing that you see are the 4 or 5 cuts. I'm tempted to try that because the color is so spot on that it's possible that it would be the better of the two evils. I would be able to see a little bit of my repairs if I were to look right at this spot versus having to look at this halo effect. So I think the best thing to do is leave it alone and make this a learning experience. This is gonna all fade at some point, and this is not gonna be so obvious. Plus I'm gonna have a stripe through here, I'm gonna have a decal here, I'm gonna have stuff going on the boat, and I'm gonna be the only person that's gonna know this repair exists. And it'll bug me to look at it, but I don't think anyone else is even gonna notice it. All right, I'm done repairing all those nicks and scratches. And I'm really happy with how that little do-it-yourself kit worked out for me on this project. The next step was the hours of sanding the boat with 1,000 grit and then 1,500 grit before polishing with a 3M cutting compound. And I'll put the link for that compound down below. I hope I've inspired you to work on your boat
perhaps fix a scratch or a nick that's been bugging you for a long time. I am ready to get to the next phase on the project. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe because next week is decal day and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.